Hi, you're watching All 24, and I am Gary Waterman, head coach of St. Francis Xavier University. We're doing part two in our series of constructing an offense in Canadian football. This series is designed for those coaches that are new to doing offensive coordinating. Part two is a few basics. So, some of our topics of discussion are going to be naming structure. What are we calling our positions in one and two back offensive sets? Line splits, how we get our offensive alignment aligned. Cadence, how we get that ball snapped. And the huddle. So, naming structure. In offensive football and football in general, there are no right or wrong answers or ways to call things. It really is something that's comfort level for you. I've seen over the years so many coaches do it different ways and have different names for positions. Pretty much standard that you have your tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle in terms of your offensive line. But what's a little bit different and varied to programs is what you call your receivers and your tailback. The quarterback, again, the Q is pretty standard, but I've seen different things, as I mentioned, over the years, how they've named their positions. So it's really up to you. In this particular example, some standard things, we're calling our outside receivers X and Z, and we're calling our slot receivers W and Y. And in this example, we have a fifth receiver on the field, and we're calling that our R. He's our fifth receiver. In some offenses, that's your sort of ranger set. When you get into formations and sets, there's different things you can do. So R is what we're using right now. And of course, you've got your Q for your quarterback, and our tailback we're calling S. He could be called and used. Any other letter could be used. Again, it's all about what you want to do. I've over the years, and even within our program, we've done some different things in terms of lettering, but it's really up to you what you do. Now we have a two-back offensive set. And looking at that, what you'll notice is, of course, we've got our offensive line that's similar, and we've added, and we've got the X and Z as our wide receivers, and we have our Y and our W as our slot receivers. And you'll notice that the R is now off this diagram or off the field. We're now in a two-back offensive set. We're bringing in a bigger back or a fullback type. We're calling him the H, and he's going to be our hybrid player. And now we have him in the set, and of course, we still have our quarterback and our tailback there. So line splits and cadence. This is interesting because different offenses have different philosophies on how far or wide apart their offensive line are. There are no wrong answers, and in some NCAA programs, particularly in a few years ago, you used to see these wide splits, really putting stress on the defense. But of course, there's challenges when they're so wide. You have to be able to block defenders in space, and you have to be able to, your offense has to be designed to take advantage of those wide splits. I've also seen really tight splits. We're talking 1 foot or even less. Again, that can be advantageous in some ways, but remember your defense is going to align based off of your splits. So if you get them real tight, expect them to be aligned tight and then have an offensive philosophy that will react accordingly. Again, here we have some generic 2-foot basic line splits, allowing you some space apart for spacing out the defense, but still close enough that you can execute your block on the line of scrimmage. And we've got our quarterback aligned with the heels at 5, so in a pistol formation, and our tailback toes at 7. Again, that varies. Some people have their heels at 4 and 4.5, and toes at 8 for the tailback. And it really depends on what your offensive set is, what your offensive philosophy is, and what you're doing on offense. But some basic alignment, line splits by the line and the quarterback and tailback. And below, we're going to get into a little bit of cadence. So cadence is what you're using to start your play. It's your communication system to get the play started and gone. You'll notice in the one column here we talk about the wide receiver waggle, and we're using hand signals or a go call or a foot call by the quarterback. It depends. Anything you want to do with that regards to getting those receivers going, that's up to you. And the great thing in Canadian football is that we can align our receivers back that are off the line of scrimmage at depth, and they can get a running start to attack the line of scrimmage. So our motion rules, our waggle rules are really unique to Canadian football, and they make it fun. And if you can take advantage of attacking with the timing, can really stress the defense out. As we look down here, you now have to have a snap count. So it's in this example we've got either on 1 or 2, and I'll show you some other ones later. And then you have your cadence, what the communication the quarterback's saying aloud to get the play going. So Again, you might see a hand signal to get the receivers started on the waggle who are off the line of scrimmage, and then a communication of ready, ready, go, set, hut, with the ball being snapped on hut. That would be simulating the count, ball being snapped on one. Or you could be on two, ready, ready, go, set, hut, hut, and now the ball's on two. In this example, you can go ready, ready, go, set. It's on set. And so it varies in all the different ways you can do it. You can do silent counts. We have the freeze call below. Again, that's pretty common for a lot of teams where they're utilizing the freeze command, where they have the receivers do the regular waggle to the line of scrimmage and the quarterback's hand signal, but they stop. And often when they stop, they're looking for either some sort of coverage tell, or some sort of blitz, showing of a blitz or pressure that gives them an advantage, and then they'll reset and run the play. In some programs, they'll look to the sidelines. The coach, the offensive coordinator, will see what the defense has shown and call in a new play, and they'll execute the play based off of whatever predetermined snap count they want. At a higher level, you'll quite often see the offense or the defense jump on that freeze command, and you'll get them coming offside, which is can give you a free play at times, and they'll have a receiver on offense that will still go downfield, hoping that the defense just stops and doesn't react because they think they're offside, and they'll throw the ball vertically and get a big play that way. So that's another way to attack. Finally, we're going to talk about the huddle. And when we look at the huddle, there's a lot of teams that don't actually even huddle, and so that's an option for you. It's up to you. It's your choice if you don't want to huddle. The key here is, and it used to be thought that you couldn't do that with younger kids, but there are a lot of teams that are not huddling with young kids. As long as you start at the beginning and you teach no huddle, I think you can get that done. But there are some advantages to huddling, to coming together. Having your quarterback can settle them down, can get to some instructions that you might want to talk about. In this case, the quarterback looks to the sidelines, gets the signal from the coach. The offensive line are lined up already 8 yards from, could be 7 or 8 yards, and they're looking. In some cases, they're looking at the line of scrimmage, or they could be turned around looking at the quarterback. You'll have your inside receivers aligned here, and then you have your outside receivers aligned on the edges so they can get out and break the huddle and get to the line of scrimmage as quickly as possible. And then once the call is made in the huddle, you want to see your offense sprint to the line of scrimmage. That really sets a tone for how you're going to execute that play, and with confidence. And then you have, while in the huddle, the quarterback's going to give the instruction or the play call. In this example, you have ace right, 60 divide on one, ready, and everybody says break on the. Everybody claps their hands and says break on the ready, and that's just you can do different things that way. But again, it's some coaches like to call the play call twice in the huddle. It's entirely up to your choice. So you've been watching all 24. This is part 2 in this series. Looking forward to talking to you again with part 3.